Hey, it's Pete. Let me know if the sound is out of sync if you're interested in helping me out with this channel. I just played some videos back and they look like they're out of sync to me, but it could just be the connection between here in on the playback. So I read Cranford, a short novel by Elizabeth Gaskell that I've wanted to read for quite a while. I have this collection of her books, ebook collection. You've seen all these kind where they have like 1,000 books in it. Um, The only thing I'd read by her before was her biography of Charlotte Bronte, which I enjoyed very much. And I had seen the movie, the BBC or the British television series of Cranford, starring Judi Dench and folks like that. And it's in a genre I really enjoy, which is kind of a humorous small town click, kind of running things like the Mapp and Lucia novels by Benson, which I highly recommend if you like humorous small town fiction. I like sort of along the same lines. I've been reading the veterinarian novels, All Creatures Great and Small novels, and of course the Blandings Castle novels. I think by P.G. Wodehouse. They're a little bit edgier than these, but still that kind of thing. I'm a sucker for that kind of thing, and I did enjoy the miniseries. So I went in wanting to like this very much. The book itself has, what is it, 10 chapters? I'm going to have to look in here. Cranford. 16 chapters. I'm going to go through the little bit of the publishing history first because I think it is a key to why I didn't like the book. So it was published in Charles Dickens's magazine, where he published some of his stuff and which he edited, which is called Household Numbers, I think. Household Words. Words, numbers, we're in the ballpark. And it was originally, there's 16 chapters, like I said. It was originally a two-parter. The first two chapters were published as a short story. And Dickens liked it so much that he suggested she continue. So it's a series so it's 16 chapters, a series of incidents mostly. So it's sort of um, not a tightly plotted novel, but different things that happen to this group in the town of Cranford, which is very much a matriarchy. That's how Gaskell describes it in the opening. Let me look at the first chapter here. That's not why I disliked it. So chapter 1 is called Our Society. In the first place, Cranford is in possession of the Amazons. All the holders of houses above a certain rent are women. If married couples come to settle in the town, somehow the gentleman disappears. He's either fairly frightened to death by being the only man in Cranford evening parties, or he is accounted for by being with his regiment, his ship, or closely engaged in business all the week of the great neighboring commercial town of Drumble. Okay, so into this town comes an older man with a grown daughter called the captain. And he kind of upsets things. He says things they don't like. He's a good guy. He's a friendly guy. He's trying to be friendly and fit in the neighborhood. He really enjoys the Pickwick Papers, which he credits to Boz, the original pen name that Dickens used for the original publication of the Pickwick Papers, which is kind of metafictional since this is appearing in a magazine that Dickens edited. And that character is very important in the series, the series I mentioned before, the BBC series with Judi Dench. I don't remember who plays the captain. There's a couple other men in it. And he sort of sets them off. These are, like it said in that paragraph, these are kind of upper middle class people, quite snobby. If you've read the Mapp and Lucia books or seen this series or anything, you know what they're like. There's a classist in there. He's really kind of stepping on toes. because he's a bit crass. There's a great incident where he sees a woman. He really only most of the women in the group are fine with him, but there's a couple that really take exception to him. They don't like the way he does things. He's coming out of church one day and there's an elderly woman who's carrying groceries or something, and he rushes over to help her and he walks her home. And to the women of the upper social set, since I gather this woman is like of a lower class, they just find this the most outrageous behavior. And even worse, they find it he doubles down, but he doesn't even come and apologize or explain himself for actually helping this old woman, just being a normal human being and not being an elitist. So, and his arc, I won't give spoilers, but his arc ends at the end of chapter 2. And he's no longer a character in the book. And it goes on with the other women, and they have different adventures and stuff. And this brings me to the problem I wanted to touch on briefly in here and maybe throw it out to the masses who are watching, the multitude of viewers of this channel. I think I'll call this video something like, I didn't like Cranford and it's my fault, because what I had done, so I kept reading the book and I kind of wanted more of what I thought the book was going to be, which was going to be this outside force kind of upsetting the equilibrium and the humor and the hijinks that ensue, and just all in a light tone and that. And the rest of the book was not like that. It was a bit, but and I've had this problem in other books where a character that I like, well, okay, spoilers are coming. The character I like dies early on, or even a character that I don't like. It's like, I think of the first chapter of the first Game of Thrones book, or Game of Thrones rather. We spend the whole chapter learning about this character. Surprise, he dies at the end, and he's not even part of the book. And there was a book, I think, called Moon War a long time ago by Ben Bova. There's a character you follow all the way through this first section of this book. He dies, and you just get to follow the other characters. There's a book by Dean Koontz that does this, who's a jogger out on the road, and we were all in her head and thinking about her emotional problems, her career problems, everything's going on with her life, and then a serial killer or something kills her. I stopped reading all those books at that point because I thought, well, I'm really invested in this character and they're already dead, so I feel like I'm starting a new book now. So when books disappoint me, there's many reasons that could be. One is bad writing. That's not the case here. One is just being forced to read it at the wrong time in my life or something, like books assigned in school or whatever at one time or another. But I do try, and I think this is the right approach. Let me know if people have another approach. I do try and read a book. Come to a book and meet the writer where they are, what they intend for the reader to get out of the book, rather than just making up my own rules. And that's what I had done in this book, because I had seen the series. I liked the series. I didn't like the changes from the series, that this character died early on, and then I'm left with characters that I found less interesting. And it's not like she tricked us or anything, because the book was written, she wrote the first 2 chapters. He dies at the end of the second chapter. I did say spoilers, right? Oh well, too late now. And then she was given the further assignment and accepted the further assignment of writing more. She can't very well go back in chapter 3 and have him come back from the dead or something. Not in this story. Could do that in Widow's Bay, which is an amazing television series I just finished watching on Apple Plus or Apple TV or whatever you call it, which is 10 episodes. You can get like the free trial and then cancel right after the free trial. It's an incredible horror series. But that's why the book didn't work for me. It wasn't that it was a bad book. It's certainly not that Gaskell's a bad writer. So I just want to throw that out kind of as a question, if people are interested, if they have any take on it. Uh, do you ever dislike a book because it wasn't the book you were expecting to read? And how can a reader, and have you ever had maybe the opposite thing where, well, this is really not what I thought this book was going to be, but actually what it is interesting enough to read anyway? Um, that's just what I'm thinking about the book. I can't really pan it because I don't really feel like it disappointed me through craftsmanship or through storytelling or anything. It disappointed me because I had a preconceived expectation. And you can get those from many ways, like I did in this case, by having seen an adaptation first, or you can get it by a very deceptive cover, and they try to disguise the genre of a book. Can't think of an example right now, but there are millions. They used to do that a lot with science fiction, and try and present a book as something that it isn't. Like for example, when they made covers that look like books instead of just like big print covers that all kind of look the same. You might see a book by a horror writer that's not one of their horror books. Or I have a better example. A lot of John D. MacDonald's books. There's a couple there's like a book, for example, called Please Write for Details, which is a comic novel about a writer's retreat. It's a very funny book. If you look at the old covers, they try and make it look like a suspense novel, which it's not at all. Well, it has little tiny elements of suspense, but mostly it's just like an offsite kind of humor novel. They knew his name sold, but they wanted to try and trick everybody into thinking it was a crime book, like Travis McGee or whatever. So that's not the case here. My other question, I'll wrap it up, but my other question is, if you've read Gaskell, what else should I read? Should I read Mary Barton? Is one that kind of interests me. I feel like I should give her at least one more chance, because I didn't really come to this book with the right mindset. My Lady Ludlow, maybe I've heard things. I think that's kind of a controversial one, right? If that's what I'm thinking about, I won't touch on the subject here because I don't know for sure. Except North and South, I'm not going to read that one unless I just fall in love with one of her other books, because that seems like a big, boring tome to me. So, My Lady Ludlow, Mary Barton, either of those, they're worth reading. Anything else you'd recommend? Any of her short stories, anything like that? Or maybe I should just move on. What do you think? Okay, that's it for today. Talk to you later.